Another show, another update on LaMelo Ball's injury. Plus, how did Brandon Miller perform last night? And yet another game against the Knicks. Despite the loss, we'll focus on some of the positives today on Locked On Hornets.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. As always, we're free and available anywhere you get your podcast, and that includes YouTube. You can see Doug Branson decked out in the mint today. I like it. Color matching, coordinating. It looks great.
Fresh.
Every Hornets Boxscore.com. You can check him out on his Substack there. Also his subtext, which he tweeted out on his Twitter handle, Doug Branson LOH. And you can follow me on Twitter at Walker Mail. Listen to me on WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m., 92.7 FM. So the Hornets lose last night, Doug, despite all of the things that needed to happen in order for them to continue their in-season tournament. It didn't happen, and, well, the Hornets didn't even take care of their own business. They lost to the New York Knicks, and, yes, there is some construction going on, and so that's what you might be hearing in the
I was going to
background.
comment on it. If you're watching on YouTube, you should pay attention. You should roll it back and pay attention to me, because you can see my face when I was trying to think of a joke that would be something in the roster construction happening at Walker's house. The wheels were turning. So if you want to see what my face looks like when the wheels are turning, just roll it back about 30 seconds.
I was thinking maybe the Knicks brought the hammer down on the Hornets last night.
That's a good one. I like that one.
That's one, because I think the framework is going up now. First, it was just demolition, destroying all the stuff at the front, and then now
that's what the
framing.
Knicks did ultimately in this game. Yeah.
Yeah, some demolition man. I don't know. Somebody, did we just have a phantom person enter the chat room, by the way? What happened here? I don't know what's going on, but it feels like we got a phantom. Okay. Weird. Ghost person in the chat room. It's a little freaky Wednesday here on Locked On Hornets. All right. All of that. It's distracting.
Good start.
Beginning of the show. Lots of weird things going on. But what is the big news of yesterday and today? It's that we did get an update from Shams himself, Shams Charania, of The Athletic, of Stadium. He tweeted out that, quote, Charlotte Hornets star LaMelo Ball suffered a serious sprain in his right ankle. A serious sprain in his right ankle.
That's sprain. That's sprain, not strain. That's a P, not a T. That's right. Sprain, not strain.
That's right. Serious one at that. Serious sprain in his right ankle and is likely to miss extended time. Tests show Ball avoided a fracture in the ankle, which is great, which required surgery last season, and a cautious approach is expected. But it's not so great that this is a serious sprain. I know Spencer Percy of BuzzBeat also tweeted out that the expected timeline is 4 weeks. We did not get that from Shams. It could be longer if there is such a cautious approach. Just your thoughts on the update that we got, which, okay, it's great that he didn't fracture it again. That would be the worst news. That would be by far the worst. But also, it's not great, Doug, to miss at least a month's worth of time with something pretty serious.
No, it's super concerning because he's missing a lot of time over the course of a young career where he's missed a lot of time. And it really means the end of any hope of a second all-star bid for this season and really derailing this season overall. The Hornets, this was the one injury that the Hornets could not sustain, and it has happened. And you're right, it is nice that he has avoided the fracture, but what's not nice is that they are checking the hardware in that foot, trying to determine what exactly was going on there. I think it's super concerning. All of these ankle injuries, what are they going to do long term to that ankle and that foot stability, both from a physical level in terms of limiting a player, because this isn't the first time that we've seen like a superstar level or all-star level player be hamstrung by ankle injuries. I mean, I think back to Grant Hill. I don't know what player you think of when that immediately comes to mind. But Grant Hill, who just a couple of years ago blamed the Detroit Pistons for misdiagnosing an ankle injury and ruining his career. But it was just multiple ankle injuries that piled on and just took away a little bit of what made Grant Hill special. I'm concerned that that's going to happen. But even if that doesn't happen, maybe if LaMelo's physiology is different and he comes back better and stronger than ever, I'm worried at this point about the same thing that I was worried about after the ankle fracture, which is the mental component of this. Does he come back the same player that can trust that foot, that doesn't have to think, because he is a player that is completely fueled by instinct and feel and split-second decisions, and you can't be thinking, oh, is my ankle going to hold up? Or, because if you do, it's going to ruin your game. And so, I'm super concerned.
So I'm glad you brought that up. I think we got to see a little bit of that, how that mental side might affect LaMelo at the beginning of the season, because Steve Clifford told us when he was revealing a player each week that needed to get back in a rhythm because they were only cleared a week before training camp. LaMelo Ball is the guy that started all of that. So when LaMelo Ball starts the regular season, it's pretty clear that he isn't playing the same way we even saw him, his healthy 36-game total last year. He looked different. You talked about the magic wasn't there. But then that fourth quarter against Dallas, that's what really allowed things to take off. And, man, he was on a freaking tear after that. It was crazy. Offensively, I tried to mute it, but I'm talking. I can't do that. This is what we're dealing with today. This is how it is. But with LaMelo at the beginning of the season, it was not a great shooting performance. And then he turned it on. We thought, okay, I know you had the hypothesis, is he getting used to the ankle braces? We didn't know if he was wearing them. And now that's all the rage right now. Now a lot of people are discussing, hey, are you team ankle brace? Do you understand what LaMelo is doing by not wearing them? Whatever, right? But he got through it. He got through it and became an even better version than we had ever seen him before.
Right.
And so that was the thing that allowed us to have more confidence in that, okay, he's back. In fact, he surpassed where he was. He was playing at such a level where he was easily an all-star. There wasn't any question about it, the way that he was performing. And even that's with the awful shooting numbers in the first 5 games, bringing him down in all those stats. So he got over that. Now you got to do it again. And I hope that he can continue to do it when he comes back. I still think he's going to be a good player when he returns. But now I wonder if there are going to be ankle braces. What's the hardware in the ankle going to look like now that they're checking it again, or at least that's reportedly what's happening? So, what is the result? What is this 4 weeks? What is this going to look like? What's going to change? Is he going to wear more protection? Are people going in and checking out his ankle again and changing something within the hardware? How does that affect LaMelo when he returns? Yeah, I have a lot of confidence in LaMelo just being a good player. He got over it the first time. Hopefully he can do it again. But that doesn't mean that I want to keep doing it. Just because we saw him do it this time doesn't mean, oh, okay, well, he can get injured again and he'll just be fine coming back. No, I would love it to stop. I would imagine that we can all agree that we would love LaMelo to stay on the floor, and hopefully his ankles don't betray him anymore.
Well, and the worst part of this, Walker, is that this has become the story of his career so far. And he's such a special player. And he was opening eyeballs across the league, eyeball emojis across the league from LeBron James and others for his special play on the court. And I just so desperately wish that the focus could have remained on that. Because without these injuries, I think we'd be talking about a 3-time All-Star. And so what really stinks about this is that this has become the story of his career. What's hopeful is that it doesn't have to remain the story of his career. But you're right. I do think it will take some changes, not only in what he does to protect the ankles in terms of the hardware or the things that he puts around the ankles, but I think there has to be some serious consideration in this next offseason after he's done with all of the rehab and the recovery of what do we do to strengthen the areas around the ankle to provide more support from like a physical level. So there will have to be changes so that he avoids these kinds of injuries in the future, because at this point you're starting to think, man, is this Grant Hill? Is this Penny Hardaway? Lonzo, it's not the same as Lonzo, but the Ball family has been struck now twice with injuries that look possibly career-threatening. Very different kind of situations with those two. But you hope it's not. Because, look, he's young. So, if this were happening in his 9th, 10th season, then you go, oh boy, this might be over. But he's
even
young.
At 26, right? He's so young. I might worry more even if he was 25, 26, but he's not even that in a couple of years.
Right. And so that's what you have to hold on to. And you also have to hold on to this. He has no choice but to go through all of this and try to, come out of it. And the Hornets have no choice because he's on a max contract starting next season. No one has a choice here. Everyone has to move forward with best intentions and all the hope in the world. And we have to stay sick and understand that he will go through this process, whether it takes a month or 2 months. I hope they are at this point. Look, I understand ticket holders, they want to go and see LaMelo play. I understand the motivations of Coach Clifford. He wants to win ball games and save his job. And I'm sure LaMelo, at some part of him, wants to get back out on the floor as soon as possible because he's a basketball addict and he wants to help his team win. And I'm sure all the players would want that as well. But I hope there's some intervention that happens that says, hey, let's be as cautious as possible here because this season is cooked. There are things to play for, but it's not playoffs. It's not play-in, and it shouldn't be to get LaMelo Ball back onto the floor as soon as possible. It should be to get him back on the floor as healthy as possible.
No, without LaMelo, I don't even know if you're playing for play-in, right? I mean, that
exactly.
seems to be, you're right, that's out the door. I want to, putting the bow on this segment, it goes back to something you said, and we can put it pretty simply here. It is something has to change, whether you believe that the ankle can be fixed surgically, whatever, and then he's good after rehab and he's good and you take a long time rehabbing. If it's that on top of ankle braces or just wearing those and helping him out, if it's strengthening his lower body, whether it be core training, whatever, right? Like, this is not me. I don't know. I don't know how to protect the ankles. I know some of the things that people have done in the past to protect themselves, but that is the simple thing. Something has to change, or else you were just crossing your fingers and hoping that it doesn't happen to LaMelo again and that he somehow gets through this. That's the only other way. And I'd rather not cross my fingers and rather just have something else change to allow LaMelo to be on the floor for himself too. If he's a basketball addict, which he clearly is, LaMelo clearly wants to be out there. I just hope that he's going to be able to. It sucks, man. This is the second straight year for the Charlotte Hornets and LaMelo. Injuries are a big story, a part of it. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about something a little more positive. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Don't go to sleep on the Hornets just yet.
The Hornets have a rookie. They drafted second overall, and he looked good last night. Loves playing against the Knicks. Hit a couple of three-pointers last night. We'll get to Brandon Miller's performance without LaMelo Ball. This episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Our partners at eBay Motors have teamed up with Locked On Fantasy Basketball host Josh Lloyd to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week, all season long, whether you're prepping for a daily draft or scouting the waiver wire. Every week, we're going to provide you players that are guaranteed to fit on your roster. So let's see who Josh picked out for us on this week's eBay's Guaranteed Fit Fantasy Picks of the Week. He's got a Charlotte Hornet on here. Doug, I'm going to give you a guess.
Ish Smith.
I'm going to give you another guess because LaMelo Ball is out.
Yeah.
That's going to open up for some people who might be out there on the waiver wire that could be picked up because of LaMelo's absence. Who do you think that player might be?
Oh, waiver wire.
Well, right, because you wouldn't go with Terry because Terry's already probably picked up. So, is there another player that might make sense here?
I don't know that would Gordon be on the waiver wire at this point?
Oh, if that was your guess, that would be the correct one. Yes, Gordon Hayward. If Hayward was dropped, he should be grabbed now that LaMelo Ball is out.
I don't know if I agree with that one. I don't
know. No. Okay, but Josh Lloyd, he is the host of Locked On Fantasy Basketball.
All right, I'll cede to the expert here, but what I've seen hasn't been terribly positive.
Whew. Yeah, it hadn't been good. He's going to help you win your fantasy championship, and eBay Motors knows a championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. It's the same thing with your vehicle. So go to eBay Guaranteed Fit, and you can get 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You have the option. I wouldn't get over 100 million parts for your car. That would be a little pricey, but you have 122 million options to choose from. You can make sure your ride stays running smoothly. Brake kits, LED headlights, roof rack, bumpers, whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors has it. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or you get your money back. Plus, at these prices, you're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. More Locked On Hornets ahead. Doug, the lead topic yesterday was all about Brandon Miller going against the Knicks, who, when he played the first game at Madison Square Garden, he was playing very well. And then he exits, I believe, early in the second quarter. He was like 5 of 6 from the field before he suffered an injury. And then, would not return in that game. Would return a couple games later, not a crazy serious injury. And then the second game against the Knicks, he goes for 20. And in this game against the Knicks, not the greatest shooting night for Brandon Miller, but it was pretty solid from distance. He was 4 of 8 from three-point range, and so that'll do. He ended up with 18 points. He was 7 of 18 overall, so that means he was 3 of 10 shooting 2-point field goals. But still, you could see just how he's a dangerous player off ball, somebody, hitting him open in the corner, open on the wing. Doug, one thing that has absolutely translated for Brandon, just right away. Like, I know some of the shooting percentages aren't great at the beginning of the season. Even coming in, I think it was 36, which isn't phenomenal, but you can tell. Like, you can just watch him play, and then you can even see the percentage here, 4 of 8. The guy is a dead-eye shooter, and it's exactly what we thought he was going to do, helping off ball, maybe not this well, right? Like, I'm not saying, I always expected this to go this way. What I'm saying is he is helping this team so much off ball, and he has taken that responsibility and taken off with it to help the squad as much as he possibly can.
Well, the really positive thing is that, yes, the off ball is developing, and he's doing that, and that's what we expected. That's where I thought the 12 to 14 points would be generated from. Very similar to Miles Bridges' rookie season, where they looked to him in the corner a lot when everything was happening up top, drawing the defense down, finding him in the corner. But it's not only that, though. There's the off-ball plays that they're actually running for him off screens. There was one in particular that he got a 3 off of. There was sort of a flare screen up top to get, I think, Gordon open to pass to Terry. And then PJ puts a screen to 2 guys. It looked like a sort of a football screen to get Brandon open in the corner. So they're running stuff off-ball for him. So there's that element. And then even the the on-ball misses where he's got the ball in his hands and he's creating, I look at those plays and I go, man, if he were just a little bit stronger, he's going to knock that down. Like, he's going up against Julius Randle, and he's getting through Julius Randle. They're not like the layups that he's missing aren't way off, and he got his shot blocked. I think the first attempt got blocked. He's not getting his shot blocked a ton, though. And so I look at those plays and I go, man, that's just all you have to do is just envision the future on those plays. Let him get in the weight room for a year or two, and all of a sudden, like, those Jason Tatum comparisons don't seem crazy at all to me anymore. And I'm totally with it, man. I was super impressed. 18 points. I get like the shooting efficiency wasn't good, but it wasn't really good for anyone in this game. Like, the Knicks defense was totally locked in and on everyone. But here's what you love, is that after he goes down with the ankle injury, goes into the locker room, that happened late first half, goes into the locker room, comes back out and guts it out for his team and limps a little bit on that first play, kind of made a move in the lane, little Euro step, and knocked down the floater, and then limps, but works through it, lets that cortisol shot kind of take effect. You could see him limp a little bit at first, and then it started to take effect a little bit. And, he worked through it, and he helped the team ultimately through that third quarter, at least, until the Knicks really put it on him. So I love that, man. That's leadership. That's gutting it out. Clifford loves to see it. I think that's respect for the teammates, and I think it's a good thing. If you're thinking about Brandon Miller 3 or 4 years from now, you want a guy who's going to be number 1 option, number 2 option on your team. You want that guy to be able to gut it out.
Yeah, and so I think we can continue to just see the off-ball stuff for most of this rookie season and be totally cool with it, and then we'll see exactly what he's like on ball at a higher volume the rest of the way. Because you're making a face at that. Go ahead.
Well, just the thing about the off-ball stuff is that if it were just the standing in the corner, I would be good, great, doing what I think you should do your rookie season, right? That's fun. But it's my favorite play of Brandon Miller's in that game was that the Knicks threw a double team at Miles Bridges. Brunson was on Miller, and Brunson goes over and tries to trap Miles. Miles picks up his dribble, and Brandon immediately recognizes it and cuts up top and it's wide open. Bridges throws over the top of the double team. Brandon Miller splashes a three. It's the recognition. It's the understanding of the game. It's the understanding, hey, double team, my guy just left, boom, make the cut. I mean, to me, that's where you go, okay, that's off-ball plus. There's off-ball and there's off-ball plus, and he's hitting off-ball plus.
Okay. I was about to say, yeah, that's still and I get your point. You want to emphasize just how good he's been without the basketball in his
hands.
It's
recognition, it's awareness. Okay. That's why off-ball plus, it's $9.99 a month, off-ball plus.
All right, there you go. I'll subscribe to your subtext and your Substack and all the subs with off-ball plus. This is what I was going to tweet about Brandon Miller last night. It was going to be that Brandon Miller, what I like about him is he's gotten to his mid-range a lot this year. So if he does have the basketball, somebody sets a screen, uses the screen to either shoot the three, or he might take a dribble or two, get to his mid-range, and then stop before he gets within 7 feet of the rim before the shot blockers can really get out there, or because they have to protect the rim and he's just not challenging there. That's fine right now. So I think with those mid-range shots, he doesn't take tough ones, which is great. This is a compliment that he's not forcing any mid-range shots, and then somebody collapses in, and then he makes the right pass. It's funny to see how easy it is. It's funny that most fans are like, oh, yeah, this guy just makes the right play 90% of the time, like 95% of the time as a rookie. Oh, defense is collapsing. I'm going to kick it out on the perimeter because that's the right shot. Oh, this might turn into a turnover with me dribbling one more time. I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to pass it to the guy that's open in the corner on the wing, whatever. But what happened was, and I think this is because LaMelo Ball's out and there was more responsibility. Like Brandon took 18 shots last night. It's a lot. And I think there were a couple times in the second half that he took contested mid-rangers. You're right. That he might be able to hit more of those as he gets stronger. And he already has hit a couple of tough ones at the beginning. But I think we asked what LaMelo's absence would mean for Brandon. I think what that means, Doug, if we see what happened last night against the Knicks continue, I think we're going to see tougher shots for Brandon Miller. I think now, one, because LaMelo is such a gifted passer anyway, he's always going to set Brandon up with the right shot, and then you can run some secondary stuff with him when you want to. But I did think as the game went on, in that maybe late first, and I know he got hurt, but when he came back, there were some contested mid-rangers, and I was like, okay, maybe you see some tougher shots that he's going to have to pull off here because you just don't have a point guard. It's Terry. Yeah. It's Teo Malone, and it's Brandon. It's Brandon, who is somebody else that's going to handle the basketball every now and then.
Yeah, and I want him on ball. I want him taking. Honestly, like him and I think if he or Bridges aren't taking the most shots each game, and throw Terry in there occasionally too. But I think Terry's got to facilitate more, so you probably don't want him taking the most shots and facilitating. I want those guys taking the most shots every game. I want them working through the on-ball issues. And again, against the Knicks, who have big and strong guys everywhere, he's going to be less successful. Against other teams, he's going to be more successful. I think 30 points, 35 points, it's around the corner, and he'll get to 40 once he starts getting bigger and stronger and able to get fouled. But here's the thing. We are in dark times as Hornets fans because of injuries, because of a lot of different things, because the Hornets are cursed, because Steve Clifford bought a haunted house. But if you want to feel hopeful, if you want to feel giddy, then just look at the shot chart for Brandon Miller over the past couple of games. And what you're going to see is a little green circle inside. You're going to see a little green circle in the middle of the floor. And you're going to see a little green circle outside of the three-point line. You're going to see it almost every game. And what that tells you is that right now, as a rookie, he has a three-level scorer mentality. And he will just continue to expand that over the next couple of years. There was one play against the Knicks where he gets a screen from Mark Williams, and they jump, and the Knicks jump it. And so he resets, gets another screen a little bit deeper from Mark Williams, and takes a mid-range shot. Now, he missed it, but you love that he's hunting the best shot. And that, to me, is another quality that you look at for all-star, superstar level super wings, is are they hunting the best shot, or are they taking first shot available? He's hunting the best shot.
He looked good, and he continues to look good his rookie season. And so that is the positive. We'll try to focus on that as we move on in this season. All right, one more segment to go. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Don't go to sleep on the Hornets just yet.
In-season tournament. Started off with a win, not great after that. But the Hornets are awarded 2 more games. You can figure out whether you think that is an award or if that is a detriment to this team. But there's 2 more games for the Charlotte Hornets. We'll get to that, and we'll give you our in-season tournament thoughts. But this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. As the weather gets colder, especially here in Charlotte, it's like 22 degrees out. It's cold now. The NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. And if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, even more than that. And if you wanted to take the over-under on a player for the Charlotte Hornets, maybe now is the time to take the over on those shot attempts. If FanDuel has not accounted for LaMelo's absence and you were trying to think, what prop do I want to roll with here? Maybe Brandon Miller's shot attempts is something you can roll with, and just overall points. 18 last night, took the most shots, was the leading scorer. I think you start hitting that over before FanDuel accounts for it. Either way, FanDuel.com/lockedon is the place to visit, and you can kick off the NFL season and continue the NBA season with it. FanDuel, it's the official partner of the NFL. We got a lot of noise in the background. Let's hurry and get to break. More to come on Locked On Hornets.
If it's 0 ankle injuries, you hammer that over.
That's right, yeah. Before we get to the in-season tournament thoughts, why don't you empty the Every Hornets box score synopsis on us here, Doug? What were some other thoughts you had on this Knicks game?
Well, listen, I'm starting to think they're not going to win this tournament. I don't think...
That's the kind of hard-hitting analysis you pay for when you subscribe to everyhornetsboxscore.com.
The other thing that I'll say is that I think it's easy analysis to say, well, this is the first game without LaMelo Ball, and boy, you could see the effect. But I don't think LaMelo's absence was the I don't think I'll say, like, I don't think that if he had played this game, it would have changed might have changed the margin, but I don't think it changes the outcome of this game. Like, I don't think he prevents Julius Randle and RJ Barrett from attempting 17 of the 20 free throw attempts. And maybe he increases slightly the number of free throw attempts that the Hornets made, which was only 7. They only got to the line, what's that, 2, 3, 4, 6, 4 times, I guess. So that's not good. So, I don't think this game is changed by LaMelo. Honestly, I think if you wanted to flip the margin, or if you wanted to flip the outcome instead of the margin, you probably go with Nick Richards. Like, the center play, I think, was a big factor, especially at the beginning of that fourth quarter. Because, look, this game essentially, Miles Bridges and a little bit of Brandon Miller and P.J. Washington brought them back from a game in which they were down 10 most of the second half, or most of the first half, brought them back to within 3 in the middle of that third quarter. And then the final 4 minutes of that third quarter, they were just getting hammered by Josh Hart, of all people. But then in the fourth quarter, they had a chance to kind of, get the momentum back. And it all went south because of offensive rebounding and because of fouling. And so I think, not having a backup center, it's going to show itself against the Knicks.
Yeah, Mark only had 2. Only 2 personal fouls in this game. And, they just got killed on the glass. That's what Steve Clifford talked about after the game. 20 for Julius Randle, 10 for Mitchell Robinson. And PJ's always had a weakness in rebounding. Some of that's because he's on the perimeter. He's shooting... he's shooting a lot right now from the perimeter. And so I wonder if that changes with LaMelo at all. If they're going to look for him to score. He did put it on the deck a couple times, but with PJ Washington, I do think there were some tough rebounds that he grabbed. Like, I think he forced tight pick and roll coverage for Julius Randle to help Mark Williams out. I think they did all they could. Like, I think Julius is just too strong. This is a 2-time third-team All-NBA player. There's only so much you can do. But you're right. Like, the Knicks are tough, and they're already at a weakness in rebounding. And so it's just not a great matchup for this team. It's just not, and you saw that bear out in this game.
Well, you mentioned the 2 personal fouls for Mark Williams. I think that's a result of not having Nick Richards, because if you're Mark Williams, you cannot be in foul trouble. Like, you just absolutely cannot be in foul trouble. And that that going into every one of these games, and that has to affect the way you play. I mean, it has to mean that you play a little less physical than you would normally, knowing, hey, I've got a little bit of leeway here. You've got no leeway. And then when you're off the floor, I think it forces guys to play out of position. And when you play out of position, other teams know it. They drive on you, and then you end up racking up fouls in that scenario as well. And so, yeah, I mean, I think Nick Richards, or any just, average backup center, right? It's not really about Nick Richards, although he's a decent rim protector. But any average backup center would actually help this team have a chance against bigger, stronger, more physical teams like the New York Knicks. They've got no shot against these particular teams.
All right, so the construction is picking up monsterly.
Whoa,
so
I like sound effect. I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that sound effect as like a point for me. That was like a around the horn. They gave me a point there.
Doug, you're gonna have to take us home with in-season tournament thoughts. Like it is loud in my face right now, and so why don't you end us with some in-season tournament thoughts? I'll nod, act like I can hear you, and then you can even take us to the end of the podcast, so it's not just massive sawing lumber out kind of noise in the background.
Perfect. Walker is going to be my audience for the rest of the show. I love this. I'll just say that I feel like that I would be better on the radio than Walker. That I feel like, I think I would do a better job. I think that the Doug and don't unmute yourself. Don't unmute yourself. I think Doug and Wes rolls off the tongue a little bit better. But anyway, all right. So in-season tournament thoughts. My thoughts are that I think it was a success, and I think all of the teams that are crying about the margin of victory. You didn't see Steve Clifford crying because the Knicks played all of their starters to the very end of the game. The Hornets had to get their baby B's in. Nick Smith Jr. immediately coming in and splashing threes. That has to make you happy. I wouldn't expect to see Nick Smith Jr. in the lineup anytime soon. I think Clifford is going to play the vets and play the players that he trusts until it doesn't make any sense anymore or until he's not employed anymore. James Bouknight did make his debut. Thought he hit a good three there. Thought he passed up a good opportunity to throw it to the corner to Nick Smith Jr. Instead, got a little selfish. Hit a tough reverse layup, no doubt. But I think if they go back and look at the tape, it's pretty clear. Like, get it to the guy who just hit 2 threes. He's wide open in the corner. You're drawing the defense. That make the right read. That's all I'm saying, James Bouknight. Make the right read. That's what someone on Subtext said. The bar for James Bouknight at this point is don't get lost in the sauce. That's the bar that we've set for James Bouknight. And I guess he cleared it. He looked like he was aware of his surroundings in the sauce in that game. That's going to be important for him as he searches for his next job. On the in-season tournament, there is news. The Hornets are not in the tournament, obviously, and the losers, the 22 teams that didn't make this in-season tournament, they all get 2 new games that were to be determined on the schedule. The Hornets play at Chicago on December 6th, and on December 8th, they've got a home game against the Toronto Raptors. Those 2 opponents are actually important if you care about the rest of the regular season and what the Hornets have to play for, in that Toronto is the team that sits directly above them in the Eastern Conference standings, and Chicago, the team that sits directly below them. So those are 2 important games for this team that is still, the goal is still to make some kind of postseason run. No, Walker, you don't get to unmute yourself.
No, I don't. I'm unmuting myself. I'm going to talk during the free time that I have. A couple things.
Good, because I was running out of breath there. I don't know why I decided to try to fill all of the space with as many words as possible, but I did.
What I think happened is that you started going on a rant with more James Bouknight, Nick Smith Jr. stuff, and then you just couldn't get off the NSJ exit like you were trying, but for some reason your steering
I was trying to fill both roles. I think I was trying to talk for both of us.
You really were. But I just wanted to have some thoughts real quickly on the players complaining. Like this has bothered me over even like the last 10 years. I remember against the Raptors one time, it was either the Raptors or against them, but maybe it was Lance Stevenson who hits a layup at the end when they're up like 40. And I think DeMar DeRozan or Kyle Lowry, they were angry. And this happened a long time ago. And it's always like, look, I get you in some situations why you might be a little frustrated, but in season tournament, this is something that you can just go ahead and this is okay. Like Tom Thibodeau leaving his Knicks players out there, his starters, to play against the Charlotte Hornets. Thank you, Steve Clifford, for not being frustrated, or thank you, players, for not having in comments afterwards.
Well, they're buddies. They're buddies.
I know they are, but also like even the players just like Who cares, man? Anyways, the point differential.
Jason Tatum.
Makes,
Jason
right.
Tatum. I mean, Jason Stratham, he's okay. Yeah, it's okay as long as no one's guarding him, no one's happening. He's fine to blame the Hornets in that situation. But then when things get really competitive, all of a sudden he has a problem. Him and Jalen Clown, get out of here. But here's the thing. The fact that players are getting frustrated means that it's working. You want that to happen. If players weren't getting frustrated, if players were just laying down and taking the other team running up the score, then I think if you're Adam Silver, you have to look at it and go, man, my league really does have a problem with competitiveness. But this is great because it means that next season, Jason Tatum and all of these other, and Missoula and all of these other guys that are crying about it, they're going to remember. They're going to remember, oh yeah, in-season tournament, I'm not only going to kick the bleep out of the other team if we have the opportunity, but if we're getting our bleep kicked, I'm going to try to ruin it for the Knicks. I'm going to try to ruin it for the other. That's what happens in soccer. You see bad teams that are down, 3 goals or whatever. They're still playing at the end of the game because they want to ruin it for some other team. That's the whole idea of the in-season tournament. If players are frustrated, that means it's working because that means that the competitive juice that they would not have on November 28th in any other regular season before this, they've suddenly got it.
All right, that'll do it for Locked On Hornets. Thanks to Doug for manning it the third segment. We are free and available anywhere you get your podcast. Remember that always. And thanks for making us your first listen. Now, tomorrow we will, I guess, what do you want to talk about with Brandon Miller? Some positives. What are some other positives to get to so we can try to entice the people to keep coming back and listening to a daily Hornets podcast? We'll find something, folks. We'll find something, and then we will preview the rest of the week. Thanks for listening to us. Check out Doug, everyhornetsboxscore.com, me, WFNZ, 92.7 FM, 12 to 3 p.m. every weekday. Have a great rest of your day.